Hello and welcome to the Springfield Training Podcast. I'm your host Tom Harding. Our aim with this podcast is to bring you interviews and insights into work-based learning and just some general chat from industry leaders from around the country. Today's guest is Paul, who is the CEO of the Skills and Education Group. So I'll start off by asking how you are. Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
That's good. What is the Skills and Education Group then?
Okay, Skills and Education Group is, we've been around for over 100 years in various different formats, but we're currently a membership organisation and awarding body, and we do four things essentially. We're a membership body first and foremost for further education colleges and skills providers, and we've been doing that since the incorporation of colleges in 1992, and we support the development of the workforce in the FE and skills sector, primarily doing that in the East Midlands area, and spreading primarily out from there, and we've been doing that successfully since we renamed ourselves as the Skills and Education Group some 4 years ago. And then we have 800 centres delivering our qualifications in access to HE, various vocation areas through Skills and Education Group Awards, and more recently BII-AB, the awarding body for the pub and hospitality sector. And then we have a foundation that supports the development of social mobility within our membership, and we put 40% of our surpluses into supporting social mobility grants for learners so they can complete their programs either on an apprenticeship or in college, and we champion the work that providers and colleges do around social mobility. That's kind of what we do.
That sounds good. Do you want to tell us about your job role? What is it that you do?
Yeah, okay. I'm the Chief Executive at the Skills and Education Group, so I'm responsible for the overall strategy and strategic direction of the group, ensuring that we're growing, ensuring that our offer to members and to centres is what they want and what they need, and ensuring that we have a plan for the future and a plan for growth. Which has been quite interesting over the last couple of years, as you would expect it to be.
Yeah. That brings me on to my next question, actually. What impact, if any, do you think that COVID has had on apprenticeship starts and completions?
I think it was an interesting phraseology in your question. What impact, if any? I think there's been a huge impact, and I think it depends on which sector you're in. Very much some of the challenges that we've had in all of the sectors. We deliver apprenticeships. We deliver apprenticeships in endpoint assessment, primarily in hospitality and adult social care and administration in our BII-AB awarding area, and we are in effectively bespoke tailoring and sewing and textiles in our Skills and Education Group Awards, and all of those areas have had challenges, but they've all been different. Some of them have been because the sector in which they work is really busy, and carrying on an apprenticeship has been a real challenge, particularly when you get to Gateway, and at that point, so we've had lots of those postponed. Then we have sectors like hospitality where the majority of staff have been furloughed. So I think there's been some real challenges in all sorts of different sectors, and we've seen that come through. There's been some real unevenness. My own son was on an apprenticeship in outdoor education. He'd been on it 2 months, and he was furloughed and then eventually let go because that whole outdoor education sector completely closed down with no knowledge as to where they were going to open again. So I think there's been challenges throughout the system, both in terms of start, but also the knock-on effect and some of the real challenges about existing apprentices being really finding it challenging to stay on program, to complete. We've had our own, in our organisation, we did furlough a number of staff, including some of our apprentices, but they've been progressing through their apprenticeship. In fact, we've had 2 complete this week, and they got distinctions in their endpoint assessment, so we're really proud of Emily and Tom who've achieved, but even they have had some challenges with carrying on with their work, support from providers, all sorts of challenges going on.
Did you do an apprenticeship yourself?
No, I didn't actually, but I did do a vocational route. I left school with not a single O-level to my name, school, I liked school. It wasn't that I didn't get on at school. I did like school, but just wasn't very good at it. And I went to college. I did hospitality and catering at Warsaw College. Had a part-time job in the sector, in the industry, event catering in a family business, part of my family, and then working in restaurants and hotels as well. Whilst I was training at college, did 2 years and then went on to a craft and management course, and then went into FE thereafter. And worked in FE and colleges and providers and membership bodies ever since. But no, I didn't do an apprenticeship, but I think I did the next best thing, and I went to college, and then I did, as I say, work in industry too.
Yeah. How did you get to where you are today? Sort of, did you jump straight into that role at the Skills and Education Group, or?
No, as I alluded to just now, I stayed in FE. I had a group of lecturers and senior managers in the department at Warsaw College who believed in me, and they said I should consider teaching in an FE college.
Yeah.
And when somebody says that to you, you don't realise it's going to be a life-changing thing, and you don't really expect much to happen from it. But a year after I left college, so I was not quite 21, they phoned me up and they offered me a part-time teaching job in the college restaurant, and then they put me through my adult teacher certificate, and then I stayed there for a couple of years. I went to another college whilst I was doing my degree to teach, and I did 4 years at Tamworth College, and then I decided to get into work-based learning. NVQs were out there. They'd been out a few years. I then went to work for a national training organisation to help them oversee. I was director of training, overseeing the delivery of apprenticeships from Aberdeen to Cornwall on long-term unemployed adults for adults, doing level 3s in hospitality, and then I set up my own training provider company, which I did for 7 years. Grew it to about £2 million turnover, which was a lot of money in the 20 years ago. 30 staff. Really enjoyed doing that. Then I've been in membership bodies ever since. I ran a provider network in Northamptonshire before joining AELP as Director of Sector Reforms from 14 to 19. Then I arrived here at what was then called MPEC and now the Skills and Education Group. And I've been here 10 years, and we've grown and developed that organisation in the last decade or so.
Have you had a 10-year party?
No, that can't. No, we're all in lockdown, I think, when the 10-year party was last year. So, no parties, I'm afraid.
You need to have an 11-year one then.
Absolutely. Well, if you can call the Olympics running 2021 Olympics 2020, you could call it my 10 years, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could, yeah.
I don't age another year then, do I?
Just forget about last year.
Yeah.
How have you been influenced by the pandemic? Is there anything you've had to change, for example, working from home or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it was really... It was probably one of the most challenging times of my working career, as it probably is for everybody. But when you're leading an organisation, the buck stops here. Yes, I've got trustees and I've got chair of the board and the operational delivery is down to me, leading the team, and I think that was a challenging time. I was also the chair of the Federation of Awarding Bodies at the time, as well, so that was particularly challenging. I think naively, I thought I was going home for 3 weeks and I'd catch up on my email. I think it took about half an hour after I arrived home on the first day to discover that actually that's not how it's going to be at all. I think the kind of decisions that we had to make at the pace we had to make them was probably at a pace that nobody has ever worked at before. The hours that were put in were particularly challenging. And yeah, I think but what we have learned, that accelerated how we can work flexibly. Our whole organisation, other than printing certificates, our whole organisation can be mobilised and work from home. We always had, if you have a contingency plan, what happens if the building blows up? What happens, if it's flooded or anything like that, and you can't use the building? Well, I think people write those plans and never really anticipate ever using them. I'm not sure anybody had a global pandemic in their in their risk register or their contingency plan, but effectively we all ended up having to work from home, and I think my team stepped up to the plate in a way that I couldn't possibly have expected them to do. They did a phenomenally good job in such a short period of time and in such challenging circumstances. So I think what I learned, that actually we can do anything, we can achieve anything as people when placed even under the most challenging of circumstances, because we find a way of doing it. Our professional development offer to our members was until March 2020 100% online, in person, and we'd never done anything online.
Yeah.
And from end of March onwards, 2020, it's 100% been online, and we've adapted really well. We've supported more people, 4 times more people than we ever normally do. So I think the pandemic has, in that respect, been a good thing, and it has enabled us to see that actually we can do things differently. Of course, I would never have chosen for us to have a pandemic to put those things into action. But having gone through it, I think there are lots of good things that have come from it. And I think staff appreciate the flexibility that we've been able to lever into the organisation.
Yeah. Are you still working from home now?
Not as much. I am in the office, but I'm now out and about a little bit more, but only in the last few weeks. So I'm trying to spend a couple of days at home, and 2 or 3 days at work, and then mingling, going out and about for meetings. So yeah, I'm trying to get that balance back. So no more than 3 days in the office a week, maybe 2, but trying to get at least 1 or 2 days at home too.
Yeah, that sounds good. Do you want to tell us one thing that you love about your job?
One thing I love about my job, I just love the range of things that we do and the people that I work with, both in the organisation and externally to the organisation. The people really make this job worthwhile, and the fact that we get to advance skills and education to improve the lives of individuals, because that's what we're about. So yeah, that's probably more than one thing, isn't it?
Yeah, probably, but you can have it.
Thank you.
It's a funny thing, because whenever I ask anyone that question, everyone says people. I think the people that you work with are important, and you need to get on with them. You need to have a good workforce, really, don't you?
You do, and everybody's got a really important role to play. It doesn't matter whether you're the chief executive or the cleaner or anybody in between. Nobody's more important than anybody else.
Yeah.
And everybody has a contribution to make, and that's really important. I'm not all things that everybody in the skills and education group, because we've got lots of other people. We've got 60 other people, and their contribution is significant. We, as a team, can only achieve when we're working as a team.
Yeah. Do you think so? We just spoke about how the pandemic has changed your work life, etc. Do you think that there'll be any new challenges as we come out of lockdown, or do you think everything's sort of worked out for the better?
I think there's lots of challenges, aren't there? You know, I'm a glass half full person.
Yeah.
So I naturally look to the positive. But I think there are challenges. I think there are challenges just in how people are responding to. I'm generally an out there person. People who know me across the sector will see me at events. I like a good conference and an award ceremony, and occasionally been known to dance on the dance floor. I've not done any of that for nearly 2 years, and I feel, you know, how much do I want to do that, given everything that we've been through? And if I'm feeling like that, I think people are feeling really quite uncertain. We've worked really hard to make our work environment safe, and the environment, working with our clients and our members to help them to be safe and their staff to be safe in the work that we do with them. And I think we've got a job of work to do to help people emerge out of this last 18 months. You know, if it was 3 weeks, as we thought it was going to be in lockdown 1, I think that we'd have just gone back to doing things normally. But I think we're all emerging out of this, and I think it will take us quite a while to actually be wanting to be in big events and all the things that we used to do. So I don't think it goes back to normal by any stretch of the imagination that quickly.
Yeah. So this last question is one that I always ask everyone that I interview. It's, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt? Now you can answer this like, is there something you wanted to do when you were younger, and just something you think you'd want to try? It's up to you.
Okay. I was on holiday last week, and my wife and I were having a conversation about radio, and I did a little bit of radio in a very amateur way as part of an initiative in the early 90s. And if I couldn't, what else would I like to do? I'd like to be in radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, a presenter on a radio show. That would be my ideal career if I could choose to do anything.
Like a talk show or like music?
Yeah, bit of both.
Yeah.
Bit of both. Yeah, a bit of both. Got to have some music in there.
Yeah. Everyone loves a bit of music.
Absolutely.
Well, that's about it. That's all the questions I've got. I'd just like to say thank you for taking the time.
It's a pleasure, Dom. Good chatting to you.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Springfield Training Podcast. If you would like to get involved in a podcast in the future, then don't hesitate to get in touch. All episodes are available now on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud, as well as our YouTube channel, which is Springfield Training TV. So please have a look, and I'll see you next time.